This is the Final Round Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt. Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to episode number 51. We've been waiting a week to do this one. To follow up with you on the heels of episode 50, we're back on the 2-week schedule. After we made that run up to number 50, we got a good show on deck for you tonight. Going to be talking to a couple of the folks from the Mid-Atlantic .90 series. We're going to have Rob Keister and Don Bangs on the show. Don's going to be joining us at the bottom of the hour, coming out of sick ward and into the daylight for the first time in, about a week and a half, right?
It's been 10 days, yeah. The cool thing is I can't wait to watch this recording afterwards because I know my voice still doesn't sound normal. So I'm wondering if, do I have a voice for radio now? I know I don't have a face for TV, and I definitely have a face for radio, but right. Do I have a voice for radio?
You're right. It sounds peculiar, not going to lie. It sounds a little froggy, but you'll be all right. You'll be fine. What's been new? And other than basically we celebrated number 50 and you crawled into bed and haven't been out.
And that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much it, to be perfectly honest. I will say that, there's not, there's been some news for sure. There's been rumors about Lancaster, Tim Pac-Man. He actually just yesterday, I think it was announced that he went to Memphis. Mm-hmm. And is going to work as the track president there. So Lancaster currently doesn't have a track president, and the current owner of Lancaster has said that no racing was going to take place as long as he still owned the track. So there was some question as to what the future is for Lancaster for next year, and then I heard rumors that potentially Paul Cambria had quote-unquote bought the track. Now, I don't know if he bought it or if he's just leasing it or if none of that has happened.
Right.
So that's kind of interesting news.
I heard Cambria's name too.
Yeah. And I think previously he actually leased the track and was kind of a silent partner and ran it previously. So I don't know what's going on there, but it'll be interesting to see how that kind of all flushes out, I guess.
Sure.
Empire, I haven't really heard anything news-wise. At the same point in time, I really haven't been totally keyed in because of the fact I've been spending a lot of time in bed.
Right.
I'm not 100% sure. From there, with what I refer to as the Mid-Atlantic Supergas Association or the Mid-Atlantic .90 Association, Rob Keister, there's been talk about potentially us and them and the series out of Michigan, potentially trying to do a big race where we all get together and pool our purses and meet somewhere centrally and do a north versus south, east versus west, who can claim the best series race. So we're working on that. So it'll be interesting to get Rob.
Is Harry going?
What was that?
Is Harry going?
I don't know. We'll find out. I know we had a couple of guys that immediately said, "Yeah, I love the idea and I want in." Doug Linden and Eric McElroy both said that they'd be in.
Right.
This is something that I've tried to do for the last basically 5 years, and it hasn't worked out. And it looked like earlier this year we were going to be able to do it, and then NHRA rescheduled their division race on the same weekend we were talking about doing it, and then it fell by the wayside again. But maybe 2019 is the year that we can do it. I don't know. We'll find out.
What have you even spitballed a location?
New Media is the logical location, and I believe that Rob has actually already done the legwork to pick out a date, which would be either the week before or the week after the NHRA LODRS event at New Media. So people could come there a week before or a week after and leave their trailers there and kind of do both races. So, that totally makes sense. Will it work out? Well, I don't know. It depends. People got to be committed to it is what it gets down to.
That's a big part of it.
If guys are going to basically be like, well, I got to get my whole schedule worked out, and then once I get my whole schedule worked out, now I'll see if we can fit it in.
Yeah.
That's never going to work because everyone's going to have their schedules done, and you're not going to be able to find a date that works for everybody.
Everybody's going to be like, well, now I can't go.
Right.
Well,
right.
You decided you weren't going to go when you made your schedule.
That's right.
And you didn't want to wait for the date.
Right.
We run into stuff like this up here with the sprint cars.
Yeah.
Where they have the URC, ESS, Patriot Sprint challenge races, and it's always the Empire Super Sprints with, a dozen Patriot sprint cars and maybe a couple URC, maybe. And it's like, this isn't really, I mean, their name's on it, but
right.
What have we got? What have we really got here? But
yeah, and I would really like to see.
I think it'd be cool.
I'd like to see a great contingent of, let's call it at least 8 cars from each of the series go and meet centrally, and
everybody go to Pittsburgh.
And again, New Media is right in central Pennsylvania, so
Yeah.
New Media is very central. I mean, it's a 4-hour drive for us. It's probably all of that for the guys down in the Mid-Atlantic. It's probably 4 to 5 hours from the guys for Michigan. It's probably only, quite frankly, it's probably only 3 hours for the guys from Ohio.
Sure.
So it's a good location from that standpoint, and it's a great track. I love New Media. It's really a fun track to go to. But again, guys got to be committed to it.
Now, what interstate do you take to get there?
Oh, God.
There isn't one. It's all hills.
Well, no, it's not all hills at least from Rochester, it's not. I mean, you basically take 390 south, which turns into 15, and then you take 15, and you get that down into Pennsylvania, and then it's not the best tow. That's why people generally don't like going there. But hey, it is what it is. I mean,
well, it'd be awesome to get that off the ground.
Oh, I hope so.
That'd be very cool.
Yeah, I really, really hope that we can get it to go for sure. Rob's ringing, I'm assuming.
Good. How are you? Let me put you in. Indeed, it was ringing. Indeed, and all the lines are on, and everything should be working the way that it's supposed to. Yeah, in theory, everything should. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing all right. Welcome to the show.
And there's Rob.
Yeah,
hey, Rob, how are you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Got Rob Keister joining us here, director of the Mid-Atlantic .90 series. Season went pretty well as a whole. You've got stuff. I'm sure you're already feverishly working on the schedule for 2019, and we were just talking about the likelihood of having some sort of challenge race with some of the touring groups in Ohio, Michigan, and then getting the Western New York Super Ride Association involved with that as well.
Yes, yeah. I kind of caught wind a little bit of the division schedule of some dates that were coming out before, just by some locations or let me know. So I was actually able to start working on some of my schedule a little earlier than some other groups may possibly have. So it was a little bit on the easier side for me to start putting some dates together. So I started brainstorming a little bit, and 2018 we originally were supposed to go to ACO, Maple Grove, and Cecil County. Unfortunately, Maple Grove ended up getting taken off our schedule. Just with some unfortunate circumstances with some stuff at the track. But so we end up going to ACO for 3 races, 3 weekends and then 2 weekends at Cecil County. Mm-hmm. And, Don Balducci, Len Capone, Jimmy Halsley, and Chad Porter and all them guys down, those tracks were very gracious of us, to bring us in and stuff. But a lot of the guys, they were like, listen, we really don't want to have an ACO and Cecil type, series.
Sure.
We've always gone to Maple Grove. We've always gone to New Media. We've always gone to, other tracks. And we like to maybe try to, spread it up a little, spread it up and mix it up a little bit, and try to make, there's some guys that are very good at ACO. There's some guys that are very good at Cecil County, and you kind of throw it into the mix there, and you throw like a New Media in there, or you throw like a Maple Grove, and it kind of maybe shuffles the points a little bit and gives some guy maybe who's really good at Maple Grove a shot at the championship. So
right.
That's our hope for 2019. I know I listened to a little bit of what Jason and you guys were talking about a little bit before I came on, and yes, we are trying to. We're beating that the iron to have a race where we have all the series come together. It's something me and Jason have been talking about for what, five years now, Jason?
at least 4 years for sure.
Yeah, at least 4 years to try to get us all together. I mean, unfortunately, where Jason's at, I unfortunately see the frustration that Jason does see, with, you get the same 12 cars, 13 cars, 14 cars that show up at your races. and stuff. And I honestly, Jason, I feel bad for you. I mean, I really do when I just see that. And I wish we were closer to come up, towards your way and get some of our guys to go up your way, and if we can, combine all our stuff. And so, but one of the big things was, to try to get all of us together because, listen, no matter what. Everybody posts their chest out and says, I got the best series, we got the best racers, we got the cream of the crop and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But, until it gets put down on paper, really, who's the best of the best. And, I think it would be kind of cool to, get guys to come from the Western New York Super Rod Series. Kenny Van Gorder and their Super Street Series up at Lebanon Valley, Ted Barnes in the TNT Super Series, Mike Sagert, and Mike's adding Super Comp and Super Street onto his series for 2019 out in Ohio, Michigan area. And then I even had some guys from New England New England Dragway runs a little series that's basically run out of New England Dragway, and have it all come together. And the media would be the central location, I guess you'll say, because unfortunately we don't really have a central location for all of us to kind of meet. But like Jason said, it's about 4 hours for us. I mean, for me personally, it's 4 hours to get the new media, 4.5 hours or so. So, I've already done a lot of the legwork. I mean, I already have a date. So, I mean, heck, we can let the cat out of the bag, I guess, if you want to, because I've already set the date as far as when it would actually be, and that would be June 15th and 16th of 2019. It'll be the weekend after the Lucas Oil race at New Media. Anybody saw the 2019 Lucas Oil Series schedule came out yesterday for all the divisions. So New Media is, I believe, June 6th to 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, I believe it is. And I'm looking at my calendar right now. So we would actually follow the weekend after the 15th and the 16th, and everybody be able to leave the trailers there and, work something out to do like a North versus South or East versus West or club wars or something that, like choose the best of the best.
Right.
Yeah, and, this is the type of thing, and I saw somebody, I don't know who posted it, but I saw somebody post something on the thread on the Mid-Atlantic Facebook page about, having some type of side bet between the, series directors, right? And and I'm all in for that. Whether it's, we have T-shirts printed up and everybody has to, wear the... the such and such series is the best T-shirt or whatever it is. I'm totally up for something like that. And
yeah. I mean, it's like when you always have the sports, the sports teams. You have always the mayors of each city. If they're in the World Series and they're in the Super Bowl or what, they always make the little side bets. Well, you have to send me, I'm from Philadelphia. I mean, I work in Philly every day. I mean, big thing is scrapple and cheesesteaks, from whatever. So it's always like, well, you're the Philly team's in the Super Bowl, and they're facing, I don't know, Green Bay. So it's like, well, I'll bet you, 200 pounds of cheesesteaks, if the Eagles win, and you bet me 200 pounds of cheese or something, and that's like what I'm saying, I'm sure Mike out in Ohio, in Michigan, they have, certain things that are, you guys, up where you're at is, buffalo wings. I mean,
they're just wings, dang it.
They're just wings.
They're just
up here,
wings.
It's just
they're
wings.
not buffalo wings.
Okay, yeah. I'm just saying, there's certain little things where everybody comes from that are, they're niches, and it'd be kind of cool to just throw it out on the plate and be like, hey, like you said, Jason, the winner or the loser or whatever has to wear the T-shirt or has to do like a side bet or something. Maybe, I don't know. It's just something cool to try to, entice the guys who are running for us, or be like, you know what? I don't want to see Jason wear high heels because that's
Hang on, that escalated quickly. It went from chicken wings to high heels.
Yeah, and that's just it. It's not only have a little bit of fun with it. I mean, and that's certainly a big thing. And I feel like to be perfectly honest, we don't have a lot of the guys in our series that travel as much as you have in your series. So our guys don't necessarily have the household name recognition that some of your competitors have. So I feel like from that standpoint, we'd be the underdogs, if you will, a little bit. But I know darn well how good our competitors are.
Yeah.
And and I'm willing to basically stand up and pound my chest basically and say, yeah, you know what, we can hold our own against all the name brand household guys out there.
And I'll be honest with you. I mean, for me running or watching your series, and also just and stuff that guys that sometimes run your series, and then they decide, hey, I want to come run NHRA racing, or I want to come, something like that. And you got great racers that run with you. I mean, I think Pete Diagnola sometimes runs with you guys.
Yeah.
John Pelicane runs with you guys.
Right.
And, I mean, Billy Weaver used to run Super Gas back in the day. I mean,
he still does.
He probably, he still comes down. I mean, they're top-notch names that run with you guys that I know, I know when I'm pulling underneath the tower and I look over and it's Billy Weaver or if it's John Pelicane or Pete Diagnola or whoever in the other lane was that, you know what, I got to make sure I'm on my game. So.
Right. Yeah, and aside from that, aside from the bragging rights and having a little bit of fun with it, I mean, the other big benefit that I can see is that, especially if we can get, more than just the Mid-Atlantic.90 Association and the West New York Super Rod Association to do it, if we could get 3 or 4 series to get in on it, yeah, we could then pool our sponsorship money that we all have for a race. And I think you and I are on the same page with regards to this, that, look, it would be one of our points races down in the media. And, there's going to be a whole bunch of guys there that normally don't compete with us, but that's the way it goes. And so it's going to be one of our points races, but our sponsor's still going to put together the money for that particular race. But now if we could put all of our sponsor money together and have our entry fees and have a bigger car count, we could actually make this where it's a pretty lucrative race to come and compete at.
Yeah, and that's really what I want to do. I mean, I really want to make it so that it's worthwhile for. I mean, because like I said, I mean, it's a travel expense for a lot of these guys.
That's right.
I don't want them kind of shoving their nose up and being like, you know what, I'm not going to, the guys maybe from Michigan or Ohio, shoving their nose up and being like, you know what, I'm not going to drive 10 hours or 6 hours or 8 hours for us to the media, to win $1,000.
Right.
Because they're going to spend that in diesel fuel and gas fuel or so. I mean,
That's right.
I said, if we're able to pull, what Mike can bring in, what you can bring in, if we can rope Ted Barnes into coming and running with the TNT guys and Kenny over at the Lebanon Valley and any of the New England guys who want to throw some money in, or it was, and of course, I got some good sponsors that will definitely step up, and we pull it, and it's a whatever $3,000, $4,000 per class or something, whatever it is. I would really hope that would be the big thing to try to entice guys to make that tow.
Yeah, agreed. And I have to say, I was really bummed last year. I mean, I thought we were going to pull this off last year when New Media got the LODRS event, and then NHRA rescheduled that event to be the same weekend we were looking at. But yeah, if we could do this, I really think it would be not only a good race for everybody, but I think it would be a really fun race too. And that's at the end of the day, none of us are doing this for a living, and everybody wants a decent payout. I get that. But I'm really hoping that people would come to this race and leave and be like, hey, you know what? That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching Jason stroll around the starting line in high heels.
And I think, and I hate to say, I mean, being around the sport as much as I've been around, and Jason, you grew up just like I grew up in it, and I know Chris, you're a little more of a dirt guy, but still, I mean, it's the same aspect. I mean, the family aspect of stuff, and you could probably agree, Jason, is that as a little bit of the fun factor has kind of come out of drag racing.
There's no doubt.
The fun's not there as much as it used to be. I mean, I remember going to the track as a kid with my dad, and it used to be so much fun to go to the racetrack and this and that. And now all of a sudden, it's like, it's like, I got to go to the dry strip. Like, I got to, and maybe it's a little bit because we're actually working there. We're not going there to just hang out and watch our friends or race ourselves or, at the end of the night, drink a couple beers and BS for us. But it's, we're actually working, having to pair cars up and collect money and pay everybody out and all that stuff. But, I think that would, if we can all kind of, brainstorm ourselves together and either get on a conference call and do it or what. But I think, we really, and I think if we, once this podcast is all done and we can, put it out there on Facebook that, hey, this is what we're thinking, it might gain some legs and roll with it. So knowing that we do have a date, we do have a location, it's just, hopefully getting everybody to jump on board and say, let's do this. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, you know what we need to do, too, is we need to have some people call some people out. So, I don't know, maybe I'll call out Iggy, right? Hey, Iggy, if you're watching / listening, I'm calling you out. Me and you, first round, you're going down. There you go. So there's your first call out. I owe Iggy from the last LODRS event I went to was Lebanon Valley, and he second round, I think he beat me second round. It was a good race. I have to say I have a great GoPro video from inside the camera of him beating me. But it was it was some great video. But Iggy's a great guy. I mean, I love Iggy. But
Iggy and Amanda are great people. Or it was. I mean, Amanda's one of my really close friends, and actually works 3 blocks down the street from me. So I mean, we have lunch, about every other week or so. We'll get together and just see how life's going in the corporate world, and actually Egg can put the credit card away for for a little bit, so that and make her start paying some of his entry fees. So
you have a full-time job?
Yeah.
It amazes me.
Yeah, people think that I'm just a race promoter. That's all I do. I mean, I don't actually work all day long. So
well, and that's the thing. I mean, I have to say that I don't hold a candle to the job that you do and the job that Ted Barnes does. I mean, the amount of effort and work that you guys put in and the marketing that you guys do, it's really incredible, and it's quite frankly, it's amazing. It really shows that you're very, very passionate about it, because you clearly spend a lot of your free time doing this. And like you said, I mean, it's not just a full-time job for you. You have a regular full-time job, and this is just for fun. And you do a great job with the series. So I mean, kudos to you. But that said, I do say that before, I know we're supposed to have Don on here, Don Bangs, who ended up being the Super Comp champion for you guys in 5 minutes here. Before we get, I guess, too carried away about this shootout event, I mean, tell us about the .90 Association 2018 series. I know that you had multiple races that came down to, I don't know if it was the very last race, but it was darn close to it, right?
Yeah. So we normally do 10 races. We do 5 weekends, 2 races a weekend. Unfortunately, Mother Nature did decide to step in twice this year, and we did get a rain out at whatever races at Atco. And then our final weekend of the year at Cecil County, we were supposed to have a double, a Saturday and Sunday. And unfortunately, a cold front was coming in, and Jimmy, the track manager, decided to cancel Sunday, even before kind of everything transpired. Before the rain actually came in, so I was kind of crossing my fingers that it was actually going to rain. So, because I know I had some racers with some pitchforks and flames trying to burn me to the stake, or if it didn't rain on Sunday. But and Super Comp, everything kind of came down. Super Comp was actually the most mundane, I guess you say, class out of all 3 of them, because Don Banks had we had a 6-round race at ACO earlier in the year, which was a 105 point swing for him, and he ended up winning that race, which was a huge bump for him. But going into the Saturday race, he was first. Kevin Scholl was second. Kevin was actually 1 point behind Don going into that finale, and then you had Bill Harderford and Amanda Boychesko. I did believe Amanda lost first round and Kevin lost first round. and then Don ended up winning, getting all the way up to the third round, and Bill Hartford was still in. And it was kind of and Bill had run it up to Amanda the year previously.
Oh.
If Don had went out third round, there was Billy had to kind of win the race to claim the championship, but unfortunately he went out, and that clinched it for Don. So that was Don's second championship. So he ended up going and winning the race that night. So it was a nice cap to his championship. And then in Super Gas, it came down to Nick Holt, Al Owens, and Frank Volpe. So we had the two New York boys, Volpe and Owens, were coming down and trying to beat up Nick Holt for the championship. And Nick went out first round on Saturday, and that opened the door wide open for Al and Frank. And pretty much the way it came down was Al was in the third round. If Al had won that round, he would have won the championship. And unfortunately, he went red third round. And it opened the door for Frank Volpe to go, and Frank had to win that whole entire race to win the championship, and Frank lost in the semis to Mr. Boychesko himself.
Oh.
So Iggy ended up winning the race himself, but Nick won his first championship with us in a car that was actually been in the family for a pretty long time, a red Don Davis Corvette. So, and then in Super Street, it kind of came down to Don Bergese and Keith Mayers. Everybody kind of knows Keith. He's Division I champion this year, and he's won our series multiple times.
I would say multi-time NHRA national event winner. I mean,
yep, IHRA world champion. Very, 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 very good driver. And pretty much came down to Keith kind of rolled into that race with a pretty good lead, and it was kind of like everybody was like, well, Keith's going to kind of wrap this up because it doesn't, I don't think anybody can catch him. And it was only a 4-round race for us. We had a pretty low count in Super Street, but Keith ended up getting upset first round, so opened the door for Don Bergese, and Don pretty much had to go to the finals and win the race to claim the championship. So Don started marching through the field and got all the way to the final round and was running Dave Bergfeld in the final, and Dave won red, and it clinched the championship for Bergese, and that was in fine fashion. I mean, tons of drama. I mean, it was the past 2 years we've had a lot of drama with our series coming down the championship wise. I mean, just the implications and who needs to do what and stuff, and it's very made interesting, and it's made my Facebook Live videos very fun to try to narrate. So.
Yeah, I will say I'm trying to think back of our champions. I mean, I don't count. I mean, I was the first champion of our series. Then we had Lance Pinot, which I think Lance clinched it on the last day. Then Harry Phelps won it 2 years in a row. And I'm trying to remember if Harry, certainly last year, Harry was in the finals or won every single event. I have a feeling that he may have clinched it early, but that might have been the only time that we've had somebody kind of clinch it early where it got to the point where, nobody can catch him. Otherwise, it's come down to the very last race every single season. And that's the really cool thing about this style of racing is the fact that it's just so darn close. It's wide open for pretty much, I won't say for anybody on the last day, but in most cases we usually have 3 to 5 guys that still, in theory, could walk away with the championship.
And isn't there some of that also come back on the car count? If you have some sort of anomaly car count where you get an influx of additional cars, it's harder to clinch it, at the penultimate race versus the finale, because somebody else can go more rounds and score more points in a particular day. So if somebody's trying to block somebody from winning a championship, call your friends, get them to enter the next race, right?
Well, it's funny because most of our races are 4-round races, but usually at least once a year, we end up having a 5-round race. And you look back kind of at the end of the year, and you're like, yeah, this guy's in it basically at the end of the year because he won that 5-round race and was able to score some extra round points that nobody else was able to do all year. You know, now with when you run a professional series like Rob does and not a bush league series like mine, you have at least a 5-round race every single time. So. You get down to that last race and it's only a 4-round race, and you're probably crying the blues because you're like, well, I don't know how exactly how your points work, Rob, but do you give qualifying?
We do our points based off of the NHRA points. So 6-round race, you win, it's 105, I think it is, and then if it's a 5-round race, it's 95. And then we throw qualifying points in. So
okay, so you do throw qualifying points in there too.
Yeah, you qualify number 1, you get 3 points. Number 2, you get 2 points. Number 3, you get 1 point.
Yeah.
Which is really kind of close things up a little bit, and kind of also forces guys to throw a little more effort into qualifying, because some guys just come out there like, well, I'm going to run a 970 and I'm going to run a 1020 and then get my good middle ratio and I'll be good. But a lot of guys when I first implemented the qualifying points, that's the way it kind of went. They were just like, we really didn't have a lot of guys really aiming for 90s. Well, then a couple of championships kind of came down to qualifying points, and guys were like, well, I guess I need to really start setting this thing on a 90 or 91 and get some qualifying points in here to help, with me for the championship, because I lost the championship by 2 points because I didn't, I didn't make an effort to try to qualify.
Yeah.
But I think when it came down to like Super Comp for Cecil County, and Cecil County, we get between a 4 to 5 round race. I mean, we fluctuate probably between 18 to 24 cars or so. I mean, we don't get a lot. I mean, ACOs are always our big race. The weekend before the Lucas race. But I believe I looked down and I was trying to do the math as far as like, who still had a mathematical chance out of the members. And, like I said, nobody really ran away with it this year. So when the Excel file, I think, did it, it was like if it was a 6-round race and somebody won both races and swept both number 1 qualifiers, I think there was still like a mathematical eligibility of 21 drivers still had a shot at the Supercom Championship going into and now of course Sunday got rained out, so that kind of wiped about 60% of those guys out. So.
Right. Yeah, that's still pretty impressive. And I mean, that's Ryan Bonifero. We had him on the show a couple of weeks ago. He won the TNT Championship, and going in, was he 9th? Is that what he said he was?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he won Friday and Saturday's races, and then Sunday ended up going all the way to the finals. And
I read Ted's article because I'm on his email list, and he sent it when he sent it out. I'm reading. I'm like, dude, the guy won Friday, the guy won Saturday, and then just like pulled like almost the ultimate hat trick there, and almost won the championship. I was like, wow. I said that was somebody like just you didn't want to get near that car, because the guy was just on fire that weekend.
Yeah, and you can look at it and say, well, geez, what's the chances of somebody winning 3 races in a row? And it's like, well, it's definitely hard, but it's not unheard of.
Right.
I remember a couple of years ago when John Labuse won a couple of big dollar bracket races. I think he won Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or something at a 4-day huge dollar bracket race, and it's like, that's ridiculous. That's just absolutely incredible. But like I said, it's not unheard of. It does happen.
We had this year. This year Keith Mayers. He won 34 rounds straight. He won 34. He started at one of our races.
Yeah, wow.
Race number 2 of the season. He beat Kelly Barbado in the final, and that started like the streak. So he had it was a 5-rounder. Then he won 5 rounds there, beat Kelly in the final, and then he ended up winning like a bunch of top 8 races that they have on the Friday nights of the Lucas races. I think he won like the Maple Grove top 8 race. He won the Maple Grove Lucas race. He won the and then I think he won the Atlanta National. He won. Okay, yeah. So he won race number 2 with us. Won the Atlanta National event. Won the top 8 race at Maple Grove. won the Lucas race at Maple Grove, won the top 8 race at New Media, won the Lucas race at New Media, and then I believe he went all the way to the final round of the next race, which was my race at ACO, and he lost to Don Bergese.
Wow.
It was 34. I think it was 34 rounds straight that he ended up winning.
That's crazy.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. That is very impressive. Yeah, that's ridiculously impressive. But I mean, that's the type of thing that can happen. Guys, I tell guys, when you get hot, man, start traveling, because at some point in time you're going to go cold. And you're going to really wish that when you were red hot that you would have taken every opportunity to go out.
Every race possible.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
That's the one sad part about Super Street, is that it isn't a nationally recognized
Agreed.
Series. So I mean, like somebody like Keith probably would have been close to being a world champion in Super Street, but unfortunately, like I said, they don't recognize that as as a class for world championships. And it kind of sucks for him, because I mean that would have been he won the division championship, which was awesome for him, and came in second in ours. But it was there's a chance for probably, you look at that scorecard, winning all those races, he probably would have come pretty close to doing something as far as world championship wise.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. Unfortunately, that's a Super Street, and how it's recognized is probably a whole hour show that we could do on that. And
all right, let's make some enemies.
Well, I mean, if you look back at the heyday, let's call it, of guys traveling for NHRA, and you go back to the late '90s to mid 2000s, before the economy, basically went to crap. It took a grade of 6. I remember trying to register for Englishtown, forgetting about it when it opened up on Wednesday, got up Thursday morning. At 8 o'clock on Thursday morning, there was, I think, 3 spots left. I had a grade of 6, and basically by Thursday, within one day, if you didn't have a grade of 6, you weren't getting in.
Wow.
And it basically was filled up in one day. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But the problem is that there's not enough NHRA national events where Super Street is contested. So, yeah, if you don't go to Englishtown, or what was Englishtown at that point in time, it was, all right, well, my options are Atlanta or Chicago are my next closest races from here. Well, I don't want to really go to either one of those, because, I mean, now you're talking about a 12-hour tow versus a 2-hour tow, right? And there are so many great Super Street racers out there that if they would give us a few more races, it would be really cool, and you could have a national champion at that point in time. But
hey, well, Pro Stock's going 18 races next year, so there's going to be 6 extra races.
That's right. We should have extra pit spots now. So we need to get rid of Pro Stock completely. But again, that's probably another show that I can have lots of people send me hate mail.
Sounds like we're booking this thing out.
We're
rolling now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Special Thanksgiving edition from your house.
That's right. All right. Well,
it'll be the rabbits. It'll be the rabbits that are in the stew pot, because that's what Jason's going to come back. He's going to come home to. It's going to be like a Fatal Attraction, where there's going to be a pot on the thing, and he's going to open it up. There's going to be a rabbit in there.
Right.
People sending him hate from about the Super Street and about the Pro Stock.
I'll wake up with a horse head in my bed or something. Well, we hope not, but. Hey, anyways, Rob, appreciate you coming on the show and giving us a quick recap of the season. Hopefully we can, basically make this shootout, or a club race, or whatever we're going to call it, race come together for 2019. And, let's keep in touch so we can see if we can get this done.
Yep, yeah, no problem. So have fun with Donnie, and don't beat him up too bad.
Hey, we'll try not to. Thanks again, Rob. Appreciate it.
We'll see you later,
thanks, guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
There goes Rob, and we got to get...
Figure we probably should try and get down on the phone here before he's like, forget these guys. They're not even going to call me. I guess they don't care.
Right. Yeah, we don't want him to think that we don't care. Don't want that.
If we're lucky, he's watching the show, so he knows what's going on.
If we're lucky. Hey, Don, it's Chris. Can I put you in? Hey, I'm okay. Let me put you in the board.
All right. Sounds like we didn't miss him.
Yeah, we didn't miss him. He hung in. Perfect.
I'm here.
So there's Don Bangs joining us here to talk about his SuperCom championship in the Mid-Atlantic Series. Don, how are you?
Good, guys. How about yourselves?
We're doing all right.
Thanks for coming on the show, Don. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for the offer to participate. Never done this before, so we'll wing it and see how it goes.
Well, so far so good. You answered the phone, so that's a good first step. I was a little concerned that we were on with Rob as long as we were, that you might be like, all right, I'm going drinking, forget these guys.
Nah. He called me last night. We talked for a while, and, I said, I'll hang in there. I didn't quite know how it was going to work, but sounds like we're connected and ready to roll.
So how'd the season go? I mean, to end in a championship, it's obviously it's got its obvious merits.
Yeah, we got to be pretty happy with how things came together there, and like a lot of our guys, we do the Masca series or the Rob's 90 series, and we also do the Lucas Oil series. For the most part, haven't been to Epping yet. Don't really have much in the way of plans to go, although my kids are really after me to go up there. But one of these days we'll see.
Yeah.
But as far as the season goes, I kind of wish we could have done a little better on the NHRA side. But for having that second championship for the .90 series, made that NHRA pill a lot easier to swallow. That's for sure.
Sure.
So this was your second championship. Were they both in Super Comp?
Yes, both in Super Comp. Yep. Two different cars, but both in Super Comp. Yep.
And when was your last championship?
2014.
So fairly recent then.
Yeah, 2014. Yep. That one came down to the last race, just like this one did.
Yeah, Rob gave us a little bit of background and basically said, I do remember seeing that, and Rob mentioned this when he was on, that I think it was going into the last race, you had a 1-point lead, right?
That's correct. Had a 1-point lead over Kevin Scholl, and unfortunately for him, he dropped first round, and I think Amanda went out second round, and then I was lucky to get by the first two and got to the third round and had Bill Hardiford right in the pair in front of me in the same lane, and I'm like, I guess this is crunch time right now. It's what happens here, and lucky for me, Bill turned it red, and I felt bad for him, but same token, I was kind of happy the way it panned out. Right.
Felt bad, but not that bad.
Wound up getting Danny Bisbano in the final, and he's always a tough out. We always race hard, the two of us, when we get each other, and he was. We were pretty close on the lights and got down the other end, and I was fortunate enough to turn the bulb on and go dead on, and he was under by fourth out, I think. So it was tight at the stripe, really tight. So, but it was a nice finish to the season for sure, and having my wife there, and made it a little bit special. She doesn't go to the races that much, but when she comes to the races, I try not to disappoint. So that's the best of it.
Right.
Well, it's funny because the Western New York Super Rod Association Championship that I won in our inaugural season was very similar in that it came down to the last race, and the competitor that was right in front of me, Jeff Gregory, he was in the pair in the same lane right in front of me, and I watched him red light right in front of me, and I knew that at that point in time that I think if I remember correctly, I think I had a bye run that round even. So I knew that as soon as I saw his red light come on, that was it. It was done and over. And but at the same point in time, it was fun to win the championship But at the same point in time, it was kind of anticlimactic because I ended up having that bye run, winning the championship, but then getting ousted like the next round or something like that. And drag racing is so
0-0, right?
Right, absolutely. Yeah, drag racing's so crazy like that. It's like, okay, yay, I won, and like, oh, yep, now I'm just a bum. It's like, so it definitely was anticlimactic. I'm sure it was really cool to win the championship by also winning the race and ending the season with a win like that.
Yeah, and it's what's kind of uncanny about that is back in 2014, it kind of went the same way, pretty much. I wound up getting in the final at that one with Dave Long, and I mean, I just went into the race that day, that Sunday back then, and I remember talking to Chase, and he made a comment like, there's 8 guys that are here today that got a mathematical shot at winning this. And I'm thinking, well, that's pretty cool. So, we'll just take it one round at a time and see how it shakes out.
Right.
And, and I never really gave the points a thought. I really didn't, and we get to the final and get down the other end, and I was able to turn the bulb on there and get out of the car, and I shake Dave's hand, and I'm like who won? He goes, I'm pretty sure you got it wrapped up, and I'm like, well, I wasn't sure, so I came up, and they're all standing there by at the top at the old at ACO there, and I was just like, congratulations on it. Like, well, I guess it was a little closer than I thought.
Yeah.
So. But we eked it out by 5 points there, so that was pretty tight.
Yeah, very close one.
It just gives you an indication of how close the competition is in our series, and
5 points and 4 thousandths, right?
Rob does a fantastic job. I've been listening to your podcast and listening to him talk, and you guys, and banter back and forth with the different series, and he can't say enough for what that kid does. I mean, he's so passionate about it, and pours his heart and soul into it, and for what he does, with a full-time job and everything else. And
that's right.
You can't thank him enough for what he does, so.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely say firsthand that the amount of work that I know that he puts into it. But he's not on the show, so I'll tell him he sucks. But so he's not here. He's not here to defend himself.
I can guarantee he's sitting there listening to this. I can guarantee it.
Your phone should go off any second.
Yeah. But I have to say
you're
that
not getting away with anything, Jason. That's for sure.
But there's no doubt that he puts a ton of work into this, and I mean, and like I said, I can speak firsthand for really looking at the job that he does and saying, yeah, you know what? I mean, both him and Ted Barnes with the TNT series, and saying, yeah, when I started running our series, I mean, those were the guys that I wanted to basically live up to. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. And I give those guys credit. They have a lot more, I guess, passion for running the series than I do. And maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just them being a little bit younger than me. I don't know what it is. But, they do an incredible job. And, hats off to them for and Rob's been doing it for a long, long time too. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's funny you mentioned how you wanted to live up to the guys that did it before you, and it's the same with Rob. With Tom Boyle and Dave Bishop, who did the Super Comp circuits, in this area beforehand, and Lucky running the Super Gas deal, and him just saying, I'm going to start from scratch with a Super Street series, and then to roll it all in together. I mean, I think, for sure he probably didn't know what he was getting into, but, he's really put it together and really done a fantastic job,
I've told him on multiple occasions that I think he's absolutely 100% out of his mind. It's hard.
Well,
it really is hard enough to do one series, let alone to run, let's call it one series with 3 different classes. He's out of his mind. I don't know how he does it. I really don't. But there's other racers that participate in the different series within the .90 group that
that help out and keep track of ladder sheets and, help with every Saturday night. We always have a barbecue after the race is over and all, and there's people that help with that, getting that set up, getting that knocked down, because by the end of the day, his ass is dragging.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Has to be.
So at the end of the day, you kind of can't get a beer in his hand fast enough.
Right.
Like, take a breath and sit down and relax and try to enjoy it. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Yeah. So, but I just wanted to mention a couple things here, if I could.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
I got to thank a couple people here.
Definitely.
Especially my wife for putting up with all this crap. There's stuff that needs to be done around the house that doesn't get done because we're out racing and we're here, we're there, we're doing things other than what we should be doing.
That's right.
And she puts up with a hell of a lot. She really does. And I can't thank her enough for her support. I had a couple of. My wife and I have 4 sons, and I had 2 of them that really jumped in and helped out a lot this year. My oldest son Donnie, and then my youngest son Corey, and his girlfriend Lexi. They were very instrumental in helping out, making things happen, and helping wherever they can, and keeping things rolling, trying to help me keep my head screwed on straight, which is no easy task. But, I probably couldn't do much of any of this without the help I get from Tom Goldman. I'm sure you guys know Tom. And
oh yeah,
everybody knows Tom, and he's my number one go-to guy. I mean, and if I got a question, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? He's usually the first guy I go to. I got him to bounce ideas off of, and I'm fortunate enough to have Iggy right up the street from me. I mean, that could be a good thing and that can be a bad thing, but
I would say you definitely have some good experience to be able to draw off from.
Oh yeah,
sure.
Yep. And Tom does the transmissions for the car, and they've been absolutely flawless. Eddie, the Eddies as I call them, Eddie Jr. and Senior up at Select, the converter's been spot on, and the motor that Larry ProMotion Engines put together for me has been really pretty much. I'm going to knock on wood when I say this, but it's been a pretty bulletproof combination that really helped us step up the game. Last year we didn't get out till late. Had some things going on in life that kind of got in the way a little bit, so we didn't get out till the end of July last year, but wound up getting it in the winner's circle there last year at the Pig Roast, which is probably our biggest race of the year.
Yeah.
The Pig Roast at Cecil County, in memory of Ronnie Harple, who's done so much for us all over the years, too. Him and George Donhauser, his wife, Linda, and, the family and that whole group, they go out of their way to put on an event that's like second to none as far as, the event that we have, that Pig Roast whole deal. I mean, we look forward to doing that year after year, all year long. It's not just like the week before. It's a big lead in, and it's just a great time. And we usually have between the ATCO race, it's the week before the divisional, and Cecil County. Those are our 2 biggest car count events, I'd have to say. And winning that 105-point race that Rob mentioned earlier at ATCO this year was instrumental to get us going. But but it's you guys have been doing it long enough. That it's not just yourselves. It's you got your support people in the background, and I know I've probably left a few people out, but. And they know who they are, and I know who they are, but I just couldn't have pulled it off without the support group that I have. So
and I mean the wives are a big thing. I mean, to be perfectly honest, my wife is very similar. It sounds like to yours. My wife doesn't go to the races very often, but she lets me go to the races basically as much as I want. I mean, there's generally never ever a time where I've asked my wife, "Hey, do you mind if I go racing this weekend?" And she's like, "Oh no, you can't because we got to do X, Y, and Z." Mm-hmm. And never complains, and like you said, I mean, does stuff around the house and keeps things running. And she's not out at the track, polishing the car or doing things like that. But I couldn't do what I'm doing at the races without her. And so regardless of whether she's there or not, I mean, same with your wife. I mean, it's instrumental really in keeping the whole thing going for sure.
Yep, absolutely. And in our series, like I mentioned before, the competition is let's just call it what it is. It's fierce.
Right.
When it comes down to it, you're hanging out the night before, having beers, eating, drinking, carrying on, having a blast with all your buddies, but when you got your hat on the next morning, you're on that starting line. You're ready to rip their throats out.
Right, that's right.
They're ready to rip my throats out, and it's a mutual understanding. You know.
Yep.
So all three series are equally as tough. I mean, in Super Gas, we got two guys that are world champions in our group.
Right.
So it's no slouch, that's for sure. And before I forget, too, I want to congratulate the other two champions, Dom Bergese and Nick Old. I mean, Dom really pulled it out at the end there, and Nick had some competition breathing down his back there at the end, and he was sweating out, I'm sure, till the very end. He had a pretty good lead there, through the first half of the season or so, but some of the guys started reeling him in, and he didn't make a race or two that probably didn't help him in his points total, but he had enough of a lead that he was able to hang on to it and get the job done. So, but congratulations to those guys, and just looking forward to next year.
So, are you at this point? Are you done for the year?
I'm sorry.
Are you done now for the year?
Yeah, we're done. I mean, I keep telling myself, we win this thing at Cecil and get the championship wrapped up at Cecil there, and then the next week is the Dutch Classic, and like I said before, 0 to 0, I go to the Dutch Classic, and we get one-time run on Friday, we get one-time run on Saturday, and then first round, it made for a long weekend sitting in the mud and all the other stuff, and then we get first round Sunday morning, and I get my ass whacked first round, so I'm like...
Right.
0 to 0. It's just, it's not the first time, and it's not sure as hell ain't going to be the last. That's for sure that happens. But the Dutch was the last time I was out, and I'm usually one of the diehards that stays out there till the bitter end. But, one weekend leads to another, and rain and more rain, or it's too cold, or it's this or it's that, and here we are now in the second week in November, and they're talking 40s here on Saturday. Sun, but 40s, and it's just not worth it. So I think I'll be pickling the car and pickling the motorhome this weekend, and getting ready to, take some things apart and freshen up and that kind of stuff, and get ready for next year.
That's funny because I know this year for me, I couldn't wait for the season to be over. When it was over, I'm like, thank God it's over. I can put stuff away. I have to say that this week I'll be doing this weekend I'll be doing the same thing as you with the motorhome. I'll be winterizing that, and that'll be it. The car's already winterized, and but I was looking forward to taking some time off and kind of regrouping and hoping next year goes a little bit better than this year did. But that's how it goes too, right? It's like you have one season that's great, and next season is just absolute garbage.
It's like you've never done it before.
Yeah, it really is. Yep. It's like, okay.
Yep.
I was successful at one point, right?
With our series, you can't. I mean, we only count 6 out of 10 races towards your point total, but you got to go to them all. You
right.
Really do, because you're going to have those races where the proverbial shit happens. You're going to get whacked first round, or something's going to break, or the weather's going to get in the way. Like Rob said, we lost 2 to rain this year, which we've been fortunate to dodge in the past, but this year Mother Nature got us twice, and I was fortunate enough to not have to carry any first-round losses in my points total, but, I mean, I did lose first round twice and second round twice and third round twice, but I had those 2 wins to get me over the top. But, I mean, you got to go to them all. You really do.
Right.
As long as you...
If you don't, and you miss one, you're really setting yourself up. So...
As long as you TQ and win the first 3 weekends, you don't have anything to worry about.
Well, then you don't have to go to the rest of them, right?
That's all you have to do. It doesn't sound that hard, right?
Yeah, well, that's. I mean, if you can pull it off, that's sure as hell give you some breathing room. That's for sure.
You hear him laughing at that?
Right.
It's just a competition's too close. Nobody's going to do that.
Right.
That's right. That's right. You know, so. But,
Dan, you know, we didn't, you know, typically when we talk to guests, you know, one of I always like to get into, you know, the whole, how did you get into racing and what's your background and all the rest of it. And, you know, we didn't even touch on any of that. And, you know, we're at the end of the hour, and I know we didn't really anticipate doing any of that with you tonight. You know, could we have you back on and in a future show? And, you know, I really like, honestly, with my guests, you know, kind of get into, you know, more of the person, not only the racing aspect of it, you know, kind of how you did and blah, 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 but, you know, really say, all right, you know, where did you come from, right? How did you get to where you are today? And I'd love to have you back on the show if you'd be willing to do that.
Certainly. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, you know, you mentioned your boys, right? You got 4 boys, and it's like the very first question that came to my mind was, how old are your kids?
Right.
You know, I don't even know. I mean, how old are your boys?
Our oldest is 30, and our youngest is 23.
So you got some now, and again, you know, now this is where I end up going with this, right? It's like, all right, how come one of them aren't in the driver's seat?
Well, the oldest one licensed in my old car years ago.
Yeah.
Never finished up the paperwork. Had other interests, went in a different direction, and for a little while. And the youngest, he's pretty passionate about it. He's got there's a car going together on Goldman's chassis table right now.
Okay.
It's going to be a little bit of a departure from what, you know, a little stray from the norm. Let's call it that, without letting the cat too far out of the bag. You know.
All right.
Well, let's wait a few weeks.
Those that know me can kind of figure it out what it is if they don't know already. But you know.
Well, let's wait a few weeks, and we can give some hints in a future show in a few weeks, and maybe we could even throw some pictures up of some progress at Tom's shop.
Yeah, we can do that.
Cool.
Yeah, because these are the things that I'd like to get to the bottom of.
Right.
You know, growing up, you know, basically in a drag racing family, I kind of, you know, I know where I came from and, you know, how I got into the sport. But it's always really interesting to me to hear the story about how others got involved and you know, kind of what their plans are, you know, kind of going forward. So yeah, definitely, absolutely, positively want to have you on a show in the near future here, so we can kind of hear about your life story.
No problem. I look forward to the opportunity.
All right.
Cool. That makes booking out a couple weeks easy, right?
Exactly. We have a guest for a few.
You guys are getting so booked up. You're not going to know what to do next.
It's actually easier when you're booked out like that.
Horse heads in your bed and dissing all the pro stock guys. I mean, you know, you guys are shooting from the hip. That's for sure.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, we try. All right. Well, before we let you go, Don, is there anything else that you wanted to get in on this show before we have you back on in the future?
No, I think I pretty much, you know, I pretty much hit what I wanted to got out there, what I wanted to get out there, and some other things that I didn't really think much about but popped up as we went along. So
cool. It's always good.
That is good.
Yep. It's good. That means there's plenty left to come back to.
Thanks again, you guys, for for the opportunity. I appreciate it, Jason and Chris, and I look forward to doing this again with you guys sometime down the road.
All right, we'll be in contact to get you on the schedule for a show here in the very near future.
Sounds good. And if I don't talk to you before, enjoy your holidays coming up.
Hey, thank you very much, Don. You too.
Thanks a lot.
All right. We'll
Take
see you
care
guys
now.
later. Take care.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Don Bangs coming away with a win in the Super Comp class.
Great guest. I can't wait to have him on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish he lived closer. He'd be a good guy to have in the studio.
Oh, there's no doubt. Yeah, there's no doubt. You want to make a road trip?
What's the internet signal like down there? I'm not driving that far to record something.
I'm sure he's probably got internet at his house. But, yeah, agreed. I mean, it's the type of thing that I really wish a lot of these guys lived closer because I'd love to have him in the studio. But I'm looking forward to having him on again. And like I said, really kind of hearing about where he came from and what they got going on here with his youngest kid's car. It'd be interesting to hear what's going on there.
Right. Yeah. I don't even know where to begin to guess on what it might be in terms of being something off the beaten path. You know?
I don't know either,
no
honestly. I don't know either. I mean, I know that I can identify with where he's at, that, he's got 4 boys and, none of them really to this point have shown a lot of interest in the racing, though there's some interest now, it sounds like. And, so, I mean, I'm really curious to kind of, dive more into that and kind of find out what's going on.
Well, we're going to have to look into the pro stock side of things and then the super street side of things.
Yeah.
And then we'll get Don back on. So there's a little bit of planning that we can do for the coming weeks.
I've said it before. I mean, NHRA just needs to kill pro stock completely and make the stock factory stock shootout guys. That should be the new pro stock, and we're done. And there you go. I don't know what you call it, junior pro stock or.
So that being said, what were we going to do with the other 59 minutes of the show we were going to dedicate to that?
Open it up to callers. So everyone could tell me how much they hate me. I don't know.
We can open it up to callers sometime.
Yeah,
we can do that. Like, we got to embed callers though. We tried that a couple of times. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
Anyway, 51 sounds like it's in the books.
I think so.
We got a couple things that we can work on as we lead up to it. We're going to be back again we're supposed to be back again in 2 weeks. That lands us on the 22nd, so I don't know. We're going to have to do some.
Is that Thanksgiving?
That would be Thanksgiving, I believe, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my wife's pretty understanding, but I don't think she would give me the okay to do it on Thanksgiving.
I don't think I would be able to either.
Yeah.
We'll work around that.
Yeah.
Figure something out from there. But I think that is going to do it for this one from the North Park Building in Academy Square. Appreciate everybody tuning in to watch and hang out with us. We're going to be back again not in 2 weeks. We'll be back again. Stay tuned to the Facebook page. We'll let you know. We'll see you then. This has been the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. We'll see you right back here again in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching.